You're listening to the TJ Moore Podcast. Today's guest is Morgane Rose. She owns Morgane Consulting. She's a sales copywriter, SEO strategist with more than 10 years of experience as a certified personal development coach. She's been featured in the Open Book Entrepreneur podcast that is hosted by a top mindset coach, Tony Lakitch. And she's also been an expert guest on the Online Business Launch podcast. She runs her own podcast on YouTube called Morgane Sales and SEO Copywriting. And I want to welcome Morgane to the show.
Hi, thank you so much, TJ. Hi, everybody. I'm really happy to be here.
And you also have your dog with you today, too.
Yes, she's sleeping on my lap, and I have another one sleeping in his basket. So if you hear dog sounds, you know why.
I want to start with sharing a quote that you have on your website about why people need what you have to offer and all your services. You say you're stuck posting on social media 3 times a day when your website should be selling for you 24/7. And you've had a huge variety of clients and companies. And in today's conversation, we're going to be covering some of the beliefs that hold us back from making ourselves and our businesses more visible. We're going to get into the topic also of some of the psychology of websites and why people buy or why they leave the website. For people who may be curious how it works, what is SEO copywriting?
Your website has 3 components: the design, the SEO part, which stands for search engine optimization. Because if people find your website and the words on your page don't really speak to them, or it's a little bit too technical because you're the expert, you speak in expert language, but people who need you, they don't. So there is a communication gap. So sales copywriting is actually closing the communication gap between people who don't know anything about what you do, but they need you, and you who are the expert and who need to help those people. Like I said, Google is like the matchmaker between your future clients and you as the business owner. So the sales copywriting part has the client psychology, like the buyer psychology, what the buyer needs, or actually a person, a stranger at this point, needs to read in order to trust you and become a buyer. Before we get to the design page and before your website can be shown via Google to people searching for what you actually do, for answers to their questions, for solutions to their problems, your website needs to be built in a way that it speaks your client's language, but also Google's language. And now with AI and voice search, it also needs to speak those language.
I've noticed that also even on LinkedIn bios that some people have so much jargon that's really specific that if someone doesn't know that exact word, they might be a client or a business who wants that service, but they don't know all of that jargon. So it actually can turn them off and they can just bounce right off that person's profile because they're like, I have no idea what they're talking about. So I really like the point that you said about it has to be also in the language of the customer and what they're looking for, so that people can relate to it and say, yes, I want to hire this person because they know exactly what I need and they have the solution for my problem.
If your web designer doesn't deal with SEO, you're just going to have a pretty online business card that's just going to sit there, like I say, collecting digital dust on the 3rd or even 5th or 7th page of Google. Check with your designer if they include the SEO package. And if they don't, then either hire someone to do it for you or learn to do it yourself.
I want to mention you have a academy on School. It's a program called Sold Out SEO. Part of the intent of you creating this also includes some of your expertise with overcoming overwhelm, perfectionism, and also the background of all of your personal development knowledge that you can infuse into this. So it's more personalized for people to learn about. And I wanted to share a quote that you had on your LinkedIn bio about turning your website into your most reliable client source helps you to stop depending on unpredictable referrals and social media. So I want to ask you, what's the main reason that people ignore learning SEO or outsourcing it when they know that there's someone out there like you that could help them improve it?
The cost, like it's going to cost me money or it's going to cost me time. And also, I had my website built, so I can just wait a little longer and clients will come. Another one is if I pay for ads, that will solve my problem because my visibility is going to increase, so people will come. None of that is true if some conditions are not met. Having a website done doesn't guarantee that you're going to have traffic. So traffic means visitors, like people coming. Potential client needs to recognize themselves in your copy, in the content. If your website is found, but doesn't speak to your client, like their actual problem, the way they would describe it to a friend, even if you pay for ads, you're just going to have traffic, so visitors, and they're going to bounce back. So meaning they're going to leave immediately because they will be like, oh, like you were saying earlier for the LinkedIn bio, it's for them, but they don't understand that it's for them because it's written in a language that doesn't resonate with them. So it's like, oh, maybe I'm not in the right place. Maybe that's not for people like me. They help other people, but not me.
I want to share a testimonial that you have from one of your clients, Elise Rogers. She was a singer-songwriter. And she says, Morgane is an absolute wizard with words. She waved her magic wand over my website and social media content, turning them into client-attracting powerhouses so I can focus on what I love.
This is why paying for ads before your copy speaks to your buyers is like pouring water in a bucket that has a hole in the bottom, because you're just going to spend money and miss opportunities. Go to your provider and ask in full transparency what you're paying for. And then you decide what you need, because even if they are the expert, you own the money. You need to know what you're putting your money into. And yes, it's going to take time, but learning social media also takes time. So it's just a matter of choosing the kind of difficult that you want to put your time into.
There's a lot of misconception out there that people have to be omni-channel. They have to be on every social media platform. And there's a lot of pressure for that. But they may not be even in the business of content creation. They may be service-based. And so they're like, that doesn't resonate with me, or they don't want to be on camera. Can a website that has a solid SEO and all of this, can it replace or become the primary source of traffic instead of social media?
It can, if it's really well done, and you have more chances to achieve that quickly as a local. Like if you are in brick and mortar, let's say you're a vet, you're a lawyer, or you're a therapist, or someone who has a brick and mortar who works locally. You have less competition than with the whole internet if you work online, right? But in that case, that's why I teach the website-centered approach. So make your website your everything. So yes, you need to pay for the domain name. Yes, you need to pay for the hosting, but it's less than 200 per year in total, according to the provider that you take, like roughly 100, 150. And then you own everything. You own your email list. You own your platform. You don't depend on a grumpy algorithm who suddenly decided to shadow ban you or put you in DM jail for rules you haven't even realistically infringed. So this is what I would advise. Like if you want to be everywhere, at least secure your handle at your company or whatever. Leave it there so people can find you, and you have like, it's the top of the funnel. So basically top of the funnel means a stranger who finds you has direction to take one step closer towards your universe, your world, to know more about you by downloading a free resource, subscribing to your newsletter to get tips or unique insights, thought leadership.
I have also run for a company an email list that had more than 10,000 subscribers. And I learned so much through that process that people would respond. They would get back to us. There was more of an interaction because they had agreed to start the interaction by giving us their email. And that can be a difference between sort of the broadcast method of using social media where you're just sending out the signal. It's not as interactive unless you're getting into the comments a lot. So the things like the newsletter or having an email capture system, you have more longevity. You own the list. You can transfer the list if you change websites or if you change your brand even. Now, one of the things that I know that you're passionate about is connecting the idea of emotional trauma and how it can actually stop us from trusting people in business relationships. And it can create these walls in our own career where we're not actually building trust, we're not networking, we're not relying on someone to teach us something new because we've been betrayed or someone hurt us emotionally.
I'm not a licensed psychologist, right? I'm just speaking as a coach and as someone who has recovered from trauma myself. So just to make it clear. So you start going into the rabbit hole of looking for YouTube tutorials, for example, or download free resources that end up in what I call the freebie graveyard, your download folder that's, with lots of dust and things you haven't opened for 6 months. We've all been there. And you become obsessed with micro details. Like maybe I just need to change my branding colors. Maybe that's the colors. That's why my colors are off. So let me change that. We're too close from our business because we're emotionally tied to our business. After a while, you think that it's safer to do it yourself and just figure things out. But that's how you end up wasting time because there are blind spots that you cannot see. You end up in a spiral of working hard, being super busy, but you don't really see the results. And then you start questioning your skills. So maybe you need another certification. And then you start doubting yourself. And then it can be very, very hard to get out of this spiral.
I've seen a pattern with a lot of people that have become successful in entrepreneurship or business ownership, where they say the reason I work so hard and I'm so dedicated is because nobody believed in me. And this is part of their own emotional trauma is I was always told that I couldn't do it, or some people were even told you're a terrible writer by a teacher when they were very young. Yeah, and that's the fixed mindset of, well, you don't have that ability versus the growth mindset of you can improve. And the more you practice, you can get better. And there's many authors who have written some of the best-selling books of all time that had teachers that told them you will never write anything that is readable. That type of emotional trauma can keep people stuck for years, not even believing that they can get started. And one of the quotes that I like that's related to this sort of energy about workaholics is success is the best revenge. That comes from a place of I'm going to show them, I'm going to be the one who made it. I'm going to be the person in my family who achieved something important.
It's happened to me in the past. I work with a coach and they were asking us our goals. So I said my goal, and I was shamed for my goal. Come on, you can't do bigger than that. Yeah. But right now where I am, that's what genuinely makes me happy. And it doesn't mean that I'm going to stay there forever.
What are some of those professional side effects that can happen when someone's in that survival mode for so long?
It doesn't mean the person is not open to taking feedback. It's just that the trauma is so real that it feels like a personal failure, especially when the person giving the feedback is really like, it's like that, you didn't do that, or you've tried this strategy, it works for me. If it doesn't work for you, then you are the problem. It's just a survival mode, like you were saying. So it's like some sort of rejection, but it's not voluntary. It's not that the person doesn't want to grow. It's just seen as a threat, as fear, and not knowing themselves as well.
It got me thinking of so many times in my own life that I was starting to develop some trust issues professionally, but it didn't come out of nowhere. It came out of I was working with so many people in my industry who did not have integrity, meaning their words and their actions did not match. They were not trustworthy. They were not reliable. You would meet with them in person and they would lay out a whole plan. We're going to do this and this and this. This is who's coming. Here's the time and place. Now, in a normal business relationship, that would work because if someone's in integrity, things just move forward. But people that are not operating out of integrity, you actually cannot trust them because for some reason, they have a massive disconnect with their planning stage and their action stage. And these are the types of people who will cancel last minute for all kinds of insane reasons, not like a medical appointment or something, but just sort of a personal, like ghosting you and then no explanation, or they cancel the project out of nowhere. And I've been through that. It can start to feel like betrayal when they've set up an expectation and then you're trying to actively follow up with what the plan was, the way they laid it out, and then they treat you like, why would I ever work with you in that capacity? Or that wasn't the plan. We never had that discussion and I never said that. But you know exactly what they set out for their expectation. And they show up as maybe someone that we're trying to start a new project or collaboration with. So these can be the foundations of those trust issues. Customers, before they buy anything, there have to be signals of trust that almost all of them are subconscious. What are some of the reasons why people stay on a website versus leaving immediately before buying?
Being clear about the pain points that you are solving. And this has nothing to do with the doom and gloom kind of thing. It's just stating the problems so that the person can recognize themselves. This builds trust. Oh, this person understands what I'm going through, not only in the actual problem I'm facing, but also in the emotional and mental aspect. And then the type of result that they can expect. It needs to tell them exactly what they can achieve if they put in the work, obviously, or if it's a one-on-one, but if it's done for you, they need to see what will be done for them in a clear and transparent way. And then comes the modalities, like how it's delivered, the how, are you meeting once a week? Are you what can they expect? You need to answer objections in terms of a price or guarantees. What happens if, they need to stop or whatever, if it's a one-on-one or if it's done for you. What happens if, lifting those objections, those fears. And this can also be done in the FAQ. So not over promising results, because this is also an issue. If you promise someone they're going to reach 30,000 in 30 days, you have to stand behind that, because otherwise that's betrayal. That's a false promise. And I don't think that's actually legal. As they keep reading, they're going to have questions. So your copy needs to answer those questions. And to me, nothing beats the book a call or send me a message. Just showing the openness, it means you're not going to disappear. You need to spot a legit website. So usually you will have clear terms and conditions, privacy policy. You will see the person who is really sharing their story. If they have blogs, because if they have an active blog, it means that they are active. So they're not running away. They are here. There is a real human behind the website.
We're always looking for these signals of trust when we're in the customer shoes. If we're on the other side where we're trying to be the seller, that's where we really have to understand what those signals are so we can put them there. It's really important for people to have a contact form on there so they can actually submit some question. They know that you're going to actually read it, that it's going to a real person, and that can create a bridge of trust too. What are some of the emotions that are connected to customers trusting a company or a brand when they're shopping?
Safety. That's the first. And it's through connection, relatability. But beyond relatability, you also need to position yourself as the leader who has the solution, a unique way of thinking, showing the understanding. So that's what I call the you-centered approach on your website. You want a you-centered copy. So that looks like, this is what you are experiencing. This is what you want. And this is where I can help. Instead of, I do this. I have experience in this. I've been doing this for so many years. I've been trained by the best, whatever. And now I do this. yeah, but how can you help me? How does that relate to me? So once again, it's this relatability that's building the trust. So the safety, being seen, being understood, and feeling like you can reach out without being shamed, without being laughed at, or without being treated like just a walking credit card.
Now, Morgane also has a program called Sold Out SEO. And I want to share one of the quotes from her website about this. SEO results compound. Most clients start seeing an increase in visitors and prospects within 1 to 3 months, with stronger results over 6 months, depending on competition and content. You also host weekly live calls, direct feedback on your website, and there's a community through School, SKOOL. What else can you tell us about this program?
You actually get to work on your website, on your business, and you have my eyeballs on everything you want to submit. Like I always encourage to share in the community, to get feedback for copy, for SEO. And during the weekly live calls, it's so important to me to say, if we have people on the call and they have plenty of questions, I don't limit it to 1 hour, because I think it's so unfair to be like, okay, your turn, you have 2 minutes, because then this person needs to talk. And then the people are kind of frustrated because they wish they could have asked more questions. So yes, of course, there is feedback in the community, but sometimes you need to speak. You need to share your screen. It's so important for me to talk about the mindset, the overwhelm, the perfectionism. Don't try to do everything at once. Take it step by step and ask questions. And then we grow together. I also like to encourage people in the community to ask feedback from one another, or network, or even if they want to collab, like, you know, it's not a one-person show. It's a really supportive, and I don't let just anyone in. If it's a business I cannot help with, I'm not going to be lying and say, yes, come.
People now are craving more than ever a personal interaction, and they want to know, they want to see you on camera, or they want to hear your voice, or they want to have a actual live dialogue with you, because that has more value to them than, you know, all of the fake material that we're seeing with video and text creation now with AI. So some of the reasons to join this community that I was seeing on Morgane's website were social media can make you feel like you're always on, and that you're tired of acting like an influencer and performing for an algorithm when all you want is to be seen as a trusted expert. How do people get the wording to be speaking for them, so it's working on their behalf?
Studying how your clients are talking. So in your testimonials, there are plenty of ways, market research. Even if you want to use the AI to do research that you would still do with the internet before, but now it's just faster, you will have more clarity. Yes, of course, you can have more clarity. You can have a better way, a better wording, but usually it takes tweaks. You work on your messaging, you also uncover more of yourself. Like, that's human. Because when you have this guidance, you're like, oh yeah, actually I talk like that to my friends, but I didn't know I could talk like that on my website as well. And then the more you practice, the more your true personality comes up in your content, in your messaging, in all of that. So it's not a one-time thing and it's done forever. It's always going to evolve. Everybody could charge 100K, for example. Like, it's easy to put it on your website. Everyone can write it. But can you actually stand behind? Can you convey this certainty?
I want to share a direct quote with someone who's worked with you, Emmanuel Peter. He said, "What impressed me the most about Morgane's work is most funnel experts give you pretty pages that don't convert. Morgane thinks like a conversion strategist first." Now, I want to share your website is morganeconsulting.com. You also have a website checklist people can download. You also have the option to book a free call with you directly so that you can see if you're a good fit to work with them or if they want to join your community. It's a great way to get in contact with you and actually have that conversation get started.
There are two types of getting out of your comfort zone. There is the healthy way that really gets you results and that we all need to get challenged. We all need that little push, right? But there is also the unhealthy way of getting outside of your comfort zone. That would be trusting someone over your own gut feeling, over your own knowledge of yourself. If anyone who's telling you about a strategy that you should do and it doesn't feel right for you, if it's not the healthy out of comfort zone way, like if really it makes you like retract and shrink, trust that. I'm saying this because that's happened to me in the past in my younger entrepreneur days. And this is the worst feeling ever. And I would say trust yourself. And maybe it's not the right moment. Maybe you will want it later. But if right now it's a no, it's a no.
Morgane, I want to thank you so much for coming on today for this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure to finally meet you after all this time of being in touch and networking. So really pleased, and thank you so much for your invitation.
To hear more experts share their story, subscribe to the TJ Moore podcast on YouTube and follow this show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts to listen anywhere you go. Like and comment on this video if you found today's conversation valuable, and share this episode with someone in your life. I'll see you next week.